When we talk about learning English, few stories feel as powerful as hearing someone transform failure into victory. This story matters because it could be yours. Hey everyone, my name is Daniel. I am 26 years old and I am from Brazil. But 5 months ago, I could not speak a single full sentence in English, not even "how are you" without thinking too much. I was completely lost. Today, I want to tell you how I learned English in just 5 months, without any expensive classes, without going to an English-speaking country, and without wasting my time on useless methods. But this is not just my story. This is your story too. If you have ever felt frustrated, stuck, or embarrassed because of your English, keep watching because I was exactly where you are. And I promise, if you listen to my full journey step by step, you will know exactly how to improve your English. So let's go back to the beginning. Because my journey did not start with motivation. It started with a big failure that changed my life. The moment that changed everything. I always wanted to work for an international company. My dream job was to be a software engineer at a big tech company. I loved coding. I was good at it, and I worked day and night to become the best. Finally, after years of hard work, I got my chance. I applied for a huge company. In the US, the recruiter emailed me. "Congratulations, you are selected for an interview." I was so excited. I imagined my life in a new country, earning a big salary, working with the best people. But then, the interview happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I opened Zoom and saw interviewers, 3 of them, all native English speakers. They started speaking, and I felt like someone had pressed fast forward on their voices. I could not understand anything. They asked me the first question. "Daniel, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I panicked. The answer was in my head, but the words did not come out. I said, yes, I am, software. I do coding, many projects. Good, I'm very good." They looked at me. The silence felt like a knife in my stomach. They asked another question, but I could not answer that either. In the end, one interviewer smiled. He said, "All right, Daniel. Thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I had failed. I did not get the job, not because I was not skilled, not because I wasn't good enough in my field, but because I could not speak English. That day, I understood the power of English. It was not just language. It was the key to my dream. And right now, I did not have that key. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, angry at myself. For years, I told myself lies. I don't need English. I'll just be good at my job and that'll be enough. But now I saw the truth. Without English, I was invisible. That night, I made a decision. I would learn English, and I would learn it fast. Most people, when they start learning English, do one thing first. They pay for expensive courses. But I did not do that. Why? Because I had already tried them before and they did not work. A year ago, I paid for an online English class. The teacher made me memorize vocabulary lists, do grammar exercises, and study boring rules. But after 3 months when I tried conversation, I still could not speak. So I knew that expensive classes were not the answer. If I wanted to learn English fast, I needed something different, something real. I needed a system that worked in real life. And that's when I started my 5-month method, which I will share with you now, step by step. Part 1. The first 15 days. The biggest mistake beginners make is thinking they need more words. I thought the same. If I learn 1,000 words, I'll be fluent. But the truth is, I already knew hundreds of words. Yet, I still could not speak. So, for the first 15 days, I did not study new words. Instead, I did something much more powerful. I started learning how to use the words I already knew. Here's exactly what I did. 1. I made a list, a survival sentence list. I sat down and thought, What do I actually need to say every day? I wrote 50 simple sentences that I needed in real life. For example, hi, how are you? Oh, can you repeat that? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I need a coffee, please. Every morning I read these aloud. Not once, not twice, 10 times. At first my tongue felt slow, but after 5 days, these sentences became automatic. 2. I started speaking to myself in English. Every single day. This is one of the most powerful things I did. Whenever I was alone, I spoke English to myself. For example, in the shower I said, I'm taking a shower. The water is hot. I feel relaxed. When I made breakfast, I said, I am making eggs. I like eggs. They are easy to cook. At first, I felt stupid. But then I realized this was my private classroom. No one could hear me. No one could judge me. And in 1 week, my brain started thinking in English. 3. I practiced 5 sentences a day, but with a twist. Every day I chose 5 sentences from movies or real conversations, but I did not just read them. I copied them exactly. I repeated them 10 times with the same emotion, speed, and pronunciation as the native speaker. This helped me fix my accent and sound natural. By the end of the first 15 days, something changed. I stopped translating in my head. I could say basic sentences without thinking. I felt more confident, but this was just the beginning, because after 15 days, I started the real practice. Part 2 began. The real practice begins. After 15 days of fixing my biggest mistake, I was finally ready to take the next step. I could say basic sentences without thinking. I felt more confident, but I knew this was not enough. I did not want to just say short sentences. I wanted real conversations. I wanted to understand native speakers without translating in my head. I wanted to speak fluently, so I created a new plan. This plan would change everything. If you follow it, you will improve faster than you ever thought possible. I realized something important when I tried to speak English. My brain was slow. I knew words, but I could not put them together quickly. I needed a way to make speaking feel natural. I started using what I now call the question-answer method. This method is simple but powerful. Here's how it works. 1. I asked myself a simple question in English. 2. I answered it immediately, without thinking too much. 3. I repeated the process with different answers. For example, I started with an easy question. What did you do today? At first, my answer, it was short. I worked, but I forced myself to say more. I worked on my project. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break and had some coffee. Every time I answered, I added more details. This trained my brain to think in English and speak without hesitation. Another example question. What did you eat for breakfast? First answer, I ate eggs. Then more details. I ate eggs and toast. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry. I love big breakfasts. I did this every single day for at least 30 minutes. My speaking speed improved dramatically. My sentences became longer, and I stopped translating in my head. One of my biggest problems was pronunciation. Even when I spoke English, I still sounded like a foreigner. Native speakers understood me, but my accent was strong. So I used the echo technique. This is the best way to improve pronunciation without a teacher. Here's how it works. 1. I listened to a native speaker from movies, YouTube, or podcasts. 2. I paused the audio after each sentence. 3. I repeated the sentence exactly the same way, same speed, same tone, same emotion. For example, I took a short clip from a movie. The character said, I don't know what you're talking about. I paused and repeated, I don't know what you're talking about. At first it felt difficult, but after repeating 10 times, my voice started to sound similar to the native speaker. Another example from a podcast. It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk. I paused and repeated, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I did this every day for 30 minutes. After 1 month, my pronunciation improved so much that even native speakers started saying, "Wow, your English sounds really natural." I knew vocabulary was important, but I also knew memorizing word lists does not work. So I needed a better method. I used the story method. Here's how it works. 1. I chose 5 words, 5 new words every day. 2. I created a short story using all 5 words. 3. I read the story out loud 10 times. 4. I used the words in real conversations. Example new words: excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story. I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. I did this every day. After 3 months, I had learned over 1,000 new words without memorizing anything. One of the biggest problems learners have is that they think in their native language first, then translate into English. This makes speaking slow and unnatural. So I trained myself. I trained my brain to think in English. Here's how. 1. I described everything around me in English. Example: the sky is blue, the weather is hot, I see people walking. That man is wearing a red shirt. 2. I asked myself questions and answered in English. Example: what am I doing right now? I'm sitting in a chair, drinking coffee and writing in my notebook. 3. I wrote my daily journal in English every night. I wrote about my day in English. At first, simple sentences, but after 1 month, my writing became more natural. After a few weeks, I noticed something amazing. I was no longer translating. English words came naturally into my mind. One of the things I did was simple but powerful. I made a rule. Every day I had to speak English for at least 2 hours. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to myself. If I did not have time, I spoke while doing daily activities, cooking, cleaning, walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I cannot quit. Part 3. My final breakthrough. Now that I had built the habit of listening and repeating, I wanted to push myself further, but I also realized something very important. Just listening and speaking would not be enough if I did not understand grammar, the structure of English properly. I didn't want to make mistakes that confused people, and I definitely wanted to sound more natural. So I started observing native speakers. I watched how they structured sentences. Every time I heard a sentence, I didn't just repeat it. I asked myself, why is this sentence structured like this? For example, I heard people say, I have been learning English for 5 months. But in school, I had learned, I am learning English for 5 months. That was my first realization. The English we learn in school is often different from the English people actually speak. So I started researching the differences. I learned about tenses in real-life use. When do people use the present perfect tense? Why do they say, I have been learning, instead of I am learning? I found small details like these changed everything. They made a huge difference in sounding natural. I wrote down common sentence structures and tried using them in daily practice. One of my biggest challenges was prepositions. On the bus, but in the car. Why? At night, but in the morning. Why? I kept a small notebook and wrote down confusing prepositions with examples every time. Whenever I had doubts, I searched for answers online or listened to how native speakers used them. To take it further, I started writing a daily diary in English. Every night I wrote about my day. At first, my writing was very simple. Today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. It was good, but I wanted to improve. So I asked myself, how do native speakers write? I read blogs, books, and news articles. I noticed how they structured sentences. Then I copied. I copied that style in my diary. One thing that accelerated my learning was shadowing. I found videos of native speakers, put on headphones, and repeated every word immediately, matching their speed and pronunciation. I did this for at least 20 minutes a day. In just a few weeks, my pronunciation improved dramatically. Another trick that helped me, it was watching English movies with subtitles. But instead of just watching passively, I paused after every sentence and repeated it. I focused on pronunciation, tone, and rhythm, slowly. My English started sounding more natural. At this stage, I realized something crucial. English is not just about words and grammar. It's also about confidence. Many people know English, but are too scared to speak. I made a decision. I would not be afraid of making mistakes. I started speaking to people in English whenever I got the chance. At work, at the store, with friends. I spoke even when I was unsure, and I noticed something surprising. People understood me even if I made small mistakes. They did not laugh at me. This gave me the confidence to keep going. But then I faced my biggest fear, talking to native English speakers. I was terrified that they would not understand me or that I would freeze. So I came up with a strategy. I prepared 10 common conversation topics and practiced them every day. How was your day? What do you do for work? What's your favorite food? I practiced answering these questions fluently. Then I took the leap. I joined an online group where people from different countries practiced English. At first, I was nervous, but soon I realized everyone was there to learn, just like me. I made friends from different countries. We practiced together. This not only improved my English, but also made learning fun. As I reached the final stage of my English learning journey, I felt an unshakable confidence growing inside me. I was no longer the same person who had been rejected because of poor English skills. I had transformed myself, step by step, through consistent effort, practice, and the right mindset. Now I want to share the last and most important lessons I learned, so that you can too. One day I was speaking to myself in the mirror, as I had done so many times before. But this time something was different. I wasn't hesitating. I wasn't translating in my head. The words were flowing naturally. It felt like magic. But in reality, it was the result of months of effort and practice. That same day, I decided to test my progress by having a deep conversation with a native speaker. I joined an online meeting with people from different countries. They discussed various topics. At first, I was nervous, but I reminded myself, I've worked too hard to doubt myself now. And then I spoke, confidently and clearly. The words came out smoothly. I didn't struggle to find the right expressions. I understood what others were saying without feeling lost. People listened, nodded, and even asked me questions. It was an incredible moment. That was the day I knew I had achieved fluency. 5 months after I started my journey, I applied for my dream job again. This time, I wasn't the same Daniel who had walked in nervously months ago. I wasn't the guy who hesitated, who felt small, who couldn't find the right words. No. This time, I walked into that interview room with confidence. I sat in front of the interviewer, not as someone who feared English, but as someone who had mastered it. I spoke clearly. I answered every question with ease. I wasn't just speaking English, I was owning it, and I could see it in their eyes. Impressed, not just with my language, but with my effort, my persistence, my transformation. A few days later, I got the call, and I will never forget that moment. Daniel, congratulations! You got the job. For a second, I couldn't believe it. My dream job. The same company that rejected me before. But now they wanted me. My starting salary was $5,000 a month. $5,000 more than I had ever imagined earning. I just stood there holding my phone, shaking, my eyes full of tears. The first thing I did, I called my parents. Mom, Dad, I did it. My mother started crying on the other end. My father, a man of few words, a man who rarely showed emotions, simply said, "We always knew you could." And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just doing this for me. I was doing it for them too, with my first salary. I bought my father a beautiful watch, something he had always wanted but never bought for himself. For my mother, a gold necklace. She had sacrificed so much for me, for our family. And now it was my turn to give back. When I handed them the gifts, they refused at first. "We don't need anything, son," they said. But I shook my head. "No, this is my way of saying thank you. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." And that was the moment I understood. It was all worth it. Every struggle, every late night, every moment of frustration, every time I felt like giving up, it was all worth it. Now, the key lessons from my journey. Let me share the most important things I learned to succeed, the lessons that helped me become fluent in English in just a few months. 1. Mindset is everything. Most people fail to learn English because they believe they can't. I used to think the same way. But the moment I changed my mindset, everything changed. I told myself, English is not difficult. I can learn it like any skill. I stopped saying, "I'm bad at English," and started saying, "I'm improving every day." If you think you can't, you won't. But if you believe, you will. You will find a way. 2. Surround yourself with English. I made English part of my daily life. I changed my phone's language to English. I watched only English content. I listened to English songs, even when I didn't understand all the lyrics. I followed English-speaking influencers on social media every day. I was feeding my brain with English. I also made sure to speak and think in English. Whenever I looked at an object, I named it in English. If I saw a car, I'd say, "That's a blue car. It's moving fast." Small things like this helped me build vocabulary naturally. 3. Speaking without fear. Many people are afraid of making mistakes, but mistakes are part of learning. I used to be scared of speaking. Then I realized native speakers don't care if you make mistakes. They appreciate your effort. So I forced myself to speak. I spoke to shopkeepers in English. I asked strangers for directions in English. I even started talking to myself whenever I was alone. The more I spoke, the better I became. 4. Active listening and shadowing. Listening is just as important as speaking. I trained my ears to understand spoken English daily. I listened to podcasts, audiobooks, conversations. But I didn't just listen passively. I practiced shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and repeating it immediately, copying pronunciation and rhythm. This helped me improve both accent and fluency. 5. Expanding vocabulary smartly. At first, I tried memorizing long lists of words, but I quickly realized it was useless. Instead, I learned words in context. I focused on phrases instead of single words. For example, instead of memorizing happy, I learned phrases like, "I feel so happy today," or "That movie made me really happy." Learning in context made it easier to remember and use words naturally. 6. Grammar without books. I didn't spend hours studying grammar. Instead, I learned grammar naturally by listening and speaking. When I made a mistake, I noted it and corrected myself. Example, I used to say, "He go to school." When corrected, I learned, "He goes to school." The best way to learn grammar is by using the language, not memorizing endless rules. 7. Consistency over perfection. Some people try to learn everything perfectly before they start speaking. That's a mistake. I didn't wait until I was perfect. I started speaking from day one, with little vocabulary, even when I only knew a few words. I used them. I made a rule. Every day I will do something in English. Some days I spoke 10 minutes. Some days I wrote a short paragraph. Some days I listened to a podcast. The key was consistency. Even on lazy days, I still did something, always moving forward. You don't need expensive classes. You don't need a perfect environment. You just need strong desire and daily practice. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, speaking fluently and confidently. Imagine the opportunities that will come your way. Imagine how proud you will feel. Start today. Speak. Listen. Practice. And never give up. Your future self will thank you. This is not just about learning English. It's about changing your life. And now I want to say something to you. If I can do it, you can too. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how bad you think your English is. What matters is that you start today. Right now. Without hesitation. I know it's hard. I know it feels impossible sometimes. But trust me, the only thing standing between you and fluency is consistency. Stop doubting yourself. Stop making excuses. Surround yourself with English. Speak, listen, read. Write every single day. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Improve. Because here's the truth. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. So, what will you choose? Choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose success. Your journey to fluency starts now, and this journey matters. If this story inspired you, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be with you every step of the way. Let's do this together starting today. Daniel's story is not just about English. It is about facing failure, refusing to quit, and turning pain into growth. His struggle could be your struggle too. Think about the moment when he failed the interview. That silence. That shame. It is the same feeling you have when you freeze in conversation and cannot express yourself. But notice what happened. Instead of letting failure define him, he transformed it into fuel. He built daily habits, practical methods, and unshakable discipline. That's why he succeeded. This is what it means for you today. Your English is not just a subject at school. It is the bridge to opportunities, relationships, dreams you may not even imagine yet. Every time you hesitate to speak, you are one step away from growth. Every mistake you make is not proof of weakness. It is a doorway to real progress and strength. So ask yourself, what would change if you gave yourself 6 months of relentless practice? Where could you be if you spoke with courage instead of fear? The truth is simple. The pain of discipline is short. The pain of regret lasts forever. Which pain will you choose to carry into your future today? You hold the same choice Daniel had. Will you keep telling yourself you don't need English? Or will you finally decide that English is your future? Your moment is now, not tomorrow, not someday. Today. Consistency. Small steps. Daily effort. That is all it takes to move from silence to fluency. From failure to victory. And remember, you're not alone. Like Daniel, you can build your own method, your own story, your own transformation. You just need to begin and never give up. So if this story touched you, like this video and subscribe. I'll walk with you step by step on this journey. Let's do it together. And now I want to hear from you. What part of Daniel's journey inspired you most? Do you believe this can bring results for you? Share in the comments.